The auction block reeked of tobacco and desperation. Emma Hartley stood with her head bowed, her entire body coated in black soot from the fire that had taken everything. Her family's homestead, her parents, her future. The auctioneer's voice droned on, selling her labor contract to the highest bidder like she was livestock. Beneath the grime, her fingers clutched a small locket, the only thing she'd salvaged from the flames. $50 for 3 years' work. A rancher called out, eyeing her like a workhorse. Before anyone could speak up, I'd like to take just a moment to ask you to subscribe to the From Wild West channel and hit that like button. It truly means everything to us and motivates us to keep bringing you quality stories like this one. Where are you listening from today? Let us know in the comments. Emma's throat tightened. 3 years as an indentured servant to pay her father's debts. 3 years of being owned. $100, a deep voice cut through the crowd. And I'm buying her freedom, not her labor. Every head turned. The man who stepped forward stood well over 6 feet, broad-shouldered beneath a worn leather duster. His hat shadowed his face, but Emma could see a strong jaw covered in dark stubble and eyes the color of storm clouds. Dust clung to his boots. He'd ridden hard to get here. The auctioneer blinked. Her freedom? Sir, that's not how. $100, the stranger repeated, pulling bills from his vest. Cash, right now. She walks away free. No contract. Emma's heart hammered. She wanted to believe him, but men didn't do such things without expecting something in return. When his eyes met hers, she saw something that stunned her. Respect. Why? The words scraped from her soot-dried throat. He climbed the steps to the platform, ignoring the murmuring crowd. Up close, she could see the weathered lines around his eyes, the scar cutting through his left eyebrow. He was perhaps 32, with the bearing of a man who'd fought for everything he had, because nobody should be sold, he said simply. Then, quieter, just for her. And because I see a woman worth saving, not a debt to be paid. The auctioneer snatched the money, muttering about irregularities. Emma's legs nearly gave out as the stranger, her unlikely savior, guided her down the steps with a hand that never gripped, only steadied. Name's Cole Brennan, he said as they reached his horse. I run a cattle ranch about 10 miles west. You're welcome to ride there, get cleaned up, figure out your next step. No strings. Emma, she managed. Emma Hartley. He nodded, then frowned at her soot-blackened dress. Can you ride? She'd grown up on a farm, but that life felt like a dream now. Yes. Cole swung into his saddle, then offered his arm to pull her up behind him. Emma hesitated. She'd spent the last 3 days avoiding any man's touch, but something in his patient expression steadied her. His forearm was solid as oak when she gripped it, and he lifted her with surprising gentleness. Hold on, he said. Storm's coming. Indeed, dark clouds churned on the horizon. Emma wrapped her arms around his waist, feeling the warmth of him through his shirt. He smelled like leather and pine smoke, clean things, honest things. So different from the cruel hands that had grabbed at her in town when she'd been alone and vulnerable. They rode in silence, the horses' hooves eating up the dusty miles. Emma kept her cheek pressed against Cole's back, feeling each breath he took, each shift of muscle as he guided the stallion. She should have been terrified. A stranger, the middle of nowhere, no one to help her if he proved false. But her instincts, battered as they were, whispered that Cole Brennan was exactly what he appeared to be. A good man in a world that had precious few. The first raindrops hit as Cole's ranch came into view, a sturdy 2-story house flanked by barns and corrals. The land stretched endlessly, golden grass rippling like an ocean beneath the darkening sky. "Almost there," Cole said over his shoulder. Then the heavens opened. Rain came down in sheets, cold and relentless. Within seconds, Emma was drenched. She gasped as the water hit her, streaming down her face and neck. Cole urged the horse faster, but they were still a quarter-mile from shelter. Emma closed her eyes against the downpour, feeling the soot beginning to wash away, rivers of black running down her arms. 3 days of ash and grief sliding off her skin like a shed cocoon. She must look like a drowned rat, she thought miserably. When they finally reached the barn, Cole dismounted and turned to help her down. His hands circled her waist, and then he froze. Emma looked up, water streaming into her eyes. Cole stood utterly still, staring at her with an expression she couldn't name. His lips parted slightly. One hand lifted, hesitated, then gently pushed a soaked strand of hair from her face. "Jesus," he breathed. "You're—" Emma realized what he was seeing. The rain had washed away the soot, revealing what she'd forgotten about herself. Golden hair that caught what little light penetrated the storm, falling in waves past her shoulders. Her mother had called it honeyed sunshine. But more than that, he was seeing her face for the first time, the freckles across her nose, the green of her eyes, the curve of her mouth. She wasn't used to being looked at like this, like she mattered, like she was beautiful. "I didn't know," Cole said softly, then seemed to catch himself. He cleared his throat, stepping back. "I mean, I didn't buy you because that's not why." "I know," Emma said, surprised to find she meant it. He'd bought her freedom before knowing what she looked like beneath the soot. It made all the difference. Cole ran a hand through his wet hair, looking uncharacteristically flustered for a man who just commanded an auction. "Let's get you inside. My housekeeper, Rosa, will help you with dry clothes. He gestured vaguely toward the house. "I'll be in the barn." But he didn't move. Neither did she. Rain drummed on the barn roof. Emma's dress clung to her, and she knew she should feel cold, vulnerable. Instead, she felt awake for the first time in days. The way Cole looked at her, not with the predatory hunger of the men in town, but with something like wonder, made her heart stutter. "Thank you," she said, "for everything." Cole's gray eyes met hers. "You don't owe me thanks. You don't owe me anything." "Still," Emma whispered, "thank you." He nodded slowly, then finally stepped back. "Come on, Rosa will have supper ready." The house was warm and smelled like bread and coffee. Rosa, a plump Mexican woman with kind eyes, took one look at Emma and immediately swept her upstairs, clucking in Spanish about that fool Cole bringing home strays. But there was affection in her voice, and her hands were gentle as she helped Emma out of her ruined dress. "He's a good man, my Cole," Rosa said, filling a copper tub with heated water. "Lost his wife 2 years back. Hasn't looked at a woman since." Emma's stomach twisted. A widower. That explained the sorrow she'd glimpsed beneath his steady exterior. I mean, he didn't bring me here for," Emma faltered. Rosa smiled. "I know, mija. Cole doesn't work that way. But I saw how he looked at you." She handed Emma a bar of soap. "Clean yourself up. I'll bring clothes." The bath was heaven. Emma scrubbed away the last of the soot, watching the water turn gray. Beneath the grime, her skin was pale, except for her sun-kissed forearms. She washed her hair 3 times, working out the ash until it shone like wheat in lamplight. Rosa returned with a simple cotton dress, blue, slightly too large but clean. "This was Cole's wife's," she said quietly. "He'll want you to have it." Emma hesitated, then slipped it on. It felt wrong wearing a dead woman's clothes, but she had nothing else. When she looked in the mirror, a stranger stared back. A young woman with hollow cheeks and haunted eyes, but alive. Still alive. Downstairs, Cole had changed into dry clothes and stood at the stove, pouring coffee. He looked up when Emma entered, and that arrested expression crossed his face again before he mastered it. "Feel better?" His voice was carefully neutral. "Much, thank you." Emma sat at the rough-hewn table, acutely aware of how the dress fit, how her damp hair fell over her shoulders. "Rosa said this belonged to your wife. I can find something else." "No." Cole set a cup before her. "Sarah would have wanted you to have it. She was kind like that." The grief in his voice was still raw. Emma wrapped her hands around the warm mug, giving him space to collect himself. "How did she die?" she asked softly. "Fever. Came on fast. Took her in 3 days." Cole sat across from her, his large hands dwarfing his own cup. "Nothing I could do. Doctor was 2 days' ride away, and by the time he got here..." He stopped. "Anyway, that was 2 years back. I'm sorry." "Me too." Cole's gray eyes found hers. "What about you, the fire? Was anyone else?" "My parents." Emma's throat tightened. "They got me out, but the smoke..." She couldn't finish. Cole reached across the table, his hand stopping just short of hers. An offer, not a demand. Emma slid her fingers forward, and his rough palm enclosed them. Warm, solid, safe. "You're not alone now," he said. "You can stay here as long as you need. Work if you want, but you're not obligated. I meant what I said. You're free." Tears stung Emma's eyes. She'd cried herself dry over the past 3 days, but somehow Cole's simple kindness broke through her defenses. "Why are you doing this?" "Because somebody helped me once when I had nothing," Cole said. "And because, well..." He paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. "Because when I saw you on that block, looking like the world had beaten everything out of you, I saw Sarah. How scared she was when her first husband died and left her with debts. How close she came to..." He didn't finish. "Nobody should go through that, especially not someone like you." "Someone like me?" Emma echoed. Cole's thumb brushed over her knuckles, a whisper of contact that sent warmth spiraling through her. "Someone brave enough to stand on that auction block with her head high, even covered in soot and ash. Someone who clutched that locket like it held her whole heart." His eyes met hers. "You're stronger than you know, Emma Hartley." She wanted to believe him. God, how she wanted to. The days took on a rhythm. Emma helped Rosa with cooking and cleaning, though Cole protested she didn't need to earn her keep. But staying busy kept the nightmares at bay, the dreams where she smelled smoke and heard her mother's screams. Cole worked the ranch from dawn to dusk, riding out with his 2 hired hands to tend cattle. But every evening, he returned for supper, and those meals became the center of Emma's day. Cole was a man of few words, but the ones he spoke carried weight. He'd ask about her day, listen intently to her small stories about mending a fence or learning to milk the cow. In turn, he'd share quiet details about the ranch, his plans for the spring calving season, a funny incident with a stubborn steer. One evening, 2 weeks after her arrival, Cole found Emma on the porch, watching the sunset paint the sky crimson and gold. "Beautiful, isn't it?" He sat beside her, close enough that their shoulders nearly touched. "I'd forgotten," Emma admitted, "how beautiful things could be." Cole was quiet for a moment. Then, "Would you like to learn to ride? Properly, I mean. Not just holding on behind me. Emma's heart leapt. Yes, I'd like that. The next morning, Cole saddled a gentle mare named Bella and spent 2 hours teaching Emma the fundamentals: how to mount, how to sit, how to communicate with the horse through pressure and balance. His hands on her waist to steady her were professional, but Emma felt the warmth of them long after he stepped back. "You're a natural," Cole said, watching her trot Bella around the corral. Pride colored his voice, and Emma glowed under it. As the weeks passed, the lessons expanded. Cole taught her to shoot, standing behind her to adjust her stance, his breath warm against her ear as he murmured instructions. Taught her to track deer through the forest, his hand catching hers when she stumbled over roots. Taught her the names of wildflowers that dotted the meadows, picking a bunch of purple lupins that he set on the dinner table without comment. Emma felt herself healing. The nightmares came less frequently. Her appetite returned, putting healthy color in her cheeks. She caught herself laughing at something Rosa said, and the sound startled her. When had she last laughed? But more than healing, she felt herself changing, growing. The frightened girl who'd stood on that auction block was becoming someone else. Someone who could ride alone to the creek, who could shoot a rattlesnake threatening the chickens, who could meet Cole's eyes across the dinner table and hold his gaze without flinching. Someone who was falling in love. She tried to fight it. Cole was still grieving Sarah, still wore his wedding ring. He treated Emma with unfailing respect and kindness, but never crossed the line into anything more. Sometimes she'd catch him looking at her, when she braided her golden hair in the morning light, when she sang while washing dishes, but he'd always look away, a muscle ticking in his jaw. It hurt, but Emma understood. He'd saved her because it was right, not because he wanted anything from her. She couldn't ask for more. Then came the day that changed everything. Emma had ridden out alone to the north pasture, where Cole and his men were repairing fence line. She'd packed lunch for them, Rosa's cornbread and cold chicken. The early autumn sun was warm, and she felt almost happy as Bella picked her way through the tall grass. She heard the shouting before she saw them. 3 men she didn't recognize had Cole backed against the fence, guns drawn. His hired hands were nowhere to be seen, probably run off or worse. Cole's hands were raised, his expression carefully blank, but Emma saw the tension in his shoulders. "Last time, Brennan," one of the men was saying. He was thick-necked and mean-eyed, with a scar splitting his lip. "Sell us this land or we'll take it. Your pretty little ranch'll burn real nice." Emma's blood went cold. These were the men Rosa had mentioned. Hired thugs working for a railroad company that wanted Cole's land for a new line. They'd been making threats for months, but Cole had refused to sell. "I told Garrett my answer," Cole said evenly. "This land's not for sale." Scarface spat. "Then you'll die on it." He cocked his pistol. Emma didn't think. She'd left her own pistol in her saddlebag, but she grabbed it now, urged Bella forward, and fired a shot into the air. All 4 men spun toward her. Emma leveled the gun at Scarface, her heart pounding so hard she thought it might burst from her chest. "Let him go," she said, praying they couldn't hear the tremor in her voice. Scarface laughed. "Well, well. Brennan's little charity case thinks she's a gunfighter." He swung his pistol toward her. "Put it down, girl, before you get hurt." "I said let him go." Emma's finger tightened on the trigger. Cole had taught her to shoot, and she was a decent shot now. But these were hardened men, and there were 3 of them. Her odds were terrible. "Emma, right away," Cole said sharply. "Now." She ignored him. "I'll shoot," she told Scarface. "I mean it." "Emma!" Scarface fired. The bullet whined past Emma's ear, so close she felt its heat. Bella reared, screaming. Emma clung to the saddle horn, trying to keep her seat, trying to keep her gun aimed. Another shot cracked out, but this one came from Cole. In the split second when Scarface had turned his gun on Emma, Cole had drawn his own pistol. So fast Emma barely saw it, and fired. Scarface went down with a cry, clutching his shoulder. His two companions' foes, suddenly realizing they were facing Cole Brennan at his angriest. "Get off my land," Cole said, his voice cold as winter iron. "All of you. Take your friend, and tell Garrett if he sends men here again, I won't aim for shoulders." They scrambled for their horses, dragging Scarface with them. Within moments, they were gone in a cloud of dust. Cole holstered his gun and strode to Emma. His face was white, his jaw clenched. "What the hell were you thinking?" Emma slid off Bella, her legs shaking. "They were gonna kill you. So you rode into it, alone, against 3 armed men?" Cole grabbed her shoulders, not rough, but firm enough that she had to meet his eyes. "Emma, you could have died. Do you understand that? You could have—" "So could you!" Emma's voice broke. "I couldn't just ride away and let them. Cole, I couldn't!" Her words dissolved into sobs. The terror caught up with her all at once. The gun aimed at her face, the bullet singing past her ear, the absolute certainty that she was about to watch Cole die. Cole's expression cracked. He pulled her against his chest, wrapping his arms around her. "Jesus, Emma. Jesus. Don't you ever. I'm sorry," she gasped into his shirt. "I'm sorry. I couldn't lose you too. I couldn't." Cole held her tighter. She felt him shaking, or maybe that was her. His hand cupped the back of her head, fingers threading through her golden hair. "I'd never forgive myself if something happened to you," he said roughly. "Never. Do you understand?" Emma pulled back just enough to look up at him. His gray eyes blazed with something beyond fear, beyond anger, something that made her breath catch. "Why?" she whispered. Cole's jaw worked. His hand was still in her hair, the other still curved around her waist. They stood so close she could feel his heart hammering against her chest. "Because," he said hoarsely, "because damn it, Emma." He kissed her. It was nothing like Emma had imagined a first kiss would be. Cole's mouth was hard on hers, almost desperate, tasting like fear and relief and something darker, sweeter. His fingers tightened in her hair, holding her close as if she might disappear. Emma's hands fisted in his shirt. She kissed him back with all the longing she'd been suppressing for weeks, pouring everything she couldn't say into the press of her lips against his. "Mine," her heart whispered. "Mine, mine, mine." When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Cole rested his forehead against hers. "I'm sorry," he said. "I shouldn't have. I didn't mean to." "Don't," Emma said fiercely. "Don't you dare apologize." "Emma, I love you." The words tumbled out before she could stop them. "I know I shouldn't. I know you're still grieving Sarah, but I can't help it, Cole. I love you." Cole closed his eyes. His hands trembled where they held her. "I thought I couldn't feel this again," he said quietly. "After Sarah died, I thought that part of me died too. But then you came along, covered in soot, looking at me like you expected me to hurt you. And I knew I'd do anything to protect you, to keep you safe." He opened his eyes, and the raw emotion in them stole her breath. "I love you too, Emma. God help me, I do." Emma's heart soared. She reached up, cupping his scarred face. "Then don't let me go." "Never," Cole promised. He kissed her again, softer this time, reverent. "Never, Emma. You're mine now, if you'll have me." "Yes," she breathed against his lips. "Yes, yes." Thunder rumbled. They both looked up to see dark clouds rolling in. Another storm, like the one that had washed away the soot and revealed her to him. Cole smiled, and it transformed his face. "Come on, let's get home before we're soaked again." They rode back together, Emma in front of him on his stallion this time, his arms around her waist. Safe, cherished, home. But the trouble with Garrett's men wasn't over. 3 days later, Rosa found a note nailed to the barn door. "Last chance, Brennan. Sell or burn." Cole read it with a grim expression, then burned it in the stove. But Emma saw the worry in his eyes. "What will you do?" she asked. "Protect what's mine," Cole said simply. He pulled her close, kissing her forehead. "That includes you." They doubled the watch on the ranch, and Cole taught Emma to shoot from horseback, to reload quickly, to watch for signs of trouble. Emma threw herself into the lessons. She wouldn't be helpless again, wouldn't stand by while danger threatened the man she loved. The attack came on a moonless night. Emma woke to the smell of smoke. She bolted upright, terror clawing at her throat. Not again. Please, God, not again. But this time she wasn't alone. Cole was already moving, pulling on his boots, grabbing his rifle. "Fire in the barn," he said tersely. "Stay here. Bar the door." No. Emma grabbed her pistol from the nightstand. Cole had given it to her after the incident with Scarface. "I'm coming with you." "Emma, I'm coming." They ran outside together. Flames engulfed the smaller barn, where Cole kept his prize breeding horses. Rosa was already there with buckets, but it was clear the barn was lost. The priority was keeping the fire from spreading. Then Emma saw them, shadows moving by the main house. 3, maybe 4 men, torches in hand. "Cole!" she pointed. Cole spun, raising his rifle. "Get away from my house!" Gunfire answered him. Cole shoved Emma down, returning fire as bullets tore through the air. Emma rolled behind a water trough, her hands steady as she aimed and fired. She didn't know if she hit anyone, but the shadows scattered. For 20 minutes it was chaos. Fire, smoke, gunshots. Emma lost track of Cole in the darkness, her heart in her throat. She fired at anyone who moved, reloaded when her pistol clicked empty, kept fighting because the alternative was losing everything again. Then a hand grabbed her from behind. Emma screamed, twisting. A man, not Scarface, but cut from the same cloth, yanked her upright, his arm around her throat. "Drop it, Brennan. Drop the gun or she dies." Emma clawed at his arm, couldn't breathe, black spots dancing in her vision. Through the smoke, she saw Cole freeze, his rifle still raised. "Let her go," Cole said, and the deadly quiet in his voice made Emma's captor hesitate. "Drop the—" Emma stopped fighting, went limp. Her captor's grip loosened just a fraction. Surprised, Emma drove her elbow into his gut with all her strength, just like Cole had taught her. The man grunted, his arms slipping. She twisted free, dropped to the ground. Cole's rifle cracked. The man fell. Emma scrambled to Cole. He pulled her against him, his hand checking her for injuries. "Are you hurt? Emma, are you—" "I'm fine." She clung to him. "I'm fine." The sound of hoofbeats signaled the retreat of Garrett's men. In the distance, Emma heard the volunteer fire brigade's bell, neighbors coming to help. The barn was lost, but the house was safe. They'd won. Barely. Dawn found them sitting on the porch steps, covered in soot for the second time since they'd met. Cole had his arm around Emma, and she leaned into his warmth, exhausted beyond measure. "I'm selling," Cole said quietly. Emma's head snapped up. "What?" "The ranch. I'll sell to Garrett." Cole's voice was flat. "I won't risk you again, Emma. I won't bury someone else I love." "No." Emma grabbed his face, forcing him to look at her. "No, Cole. This is your home, your life. You don't give that up because of me." "You're my life now," Cole said roughly. "Don't you understand? If something happened to you, then we fight together," Emma said fiercely. "We protect this place together. I'm not some fragile thing you need to shield, Cole. I'm your partner, your equal." She held his gaze. "And I'm not going anywhere." Cole stared at her. Then, slowly, something like hope flickered in his gray eyes. "Together?" "Together," Emma promised. He kissed her, and this time it was a vow. The county sheriff finally got involved after the attack. Garrett's men were arrested, and the railroad company backed off under threat of federal investigation. Cole's ranch was safe. 2 months later, on a crisp November morning, Cole and Emma were married by the traveling preacher in a simple ceremony on the ranch. Rosa cried. The hired hands clapped. And when Cole slipped Sarah's gold wedding band, offered freely with no ghosts between them, onto Emma's finger, she thought her heart might burst. "I love you, Emma Brennan," Cole said, his voice rough with emotion. "I love you," Emma whispered back, "my cowboy." He kissed her as the sun broke through the clouds, golden lights spilling over them both. 5 years later, Emma stood on the porch, watching Cole teach their 4-year-old daughter to ride Bella's daughter, Rosie. Little Sarah squealed with delight as Cole led the mare in gentle circles, his big hand steadying the girl in the saddle. Emma's hand rested on her rounded belly. Another baby coming in the spring. A boy this time, if Rosa's predictions were right. The ranch had prospered. The barn had been rebuilt, bigger than before. It expanded the herd, hired more hands, built a schoolhouse for the growing community of families settling nearby. But more than that, Emma had prospered. The frightened girl, covered in soot, was gone, replaced by a woman who could ride and shoot and run a ranch alongside her husband. A woman who was loved and valued, not for her beauty or her usefulness, but for herself. Cole looked up, catching her eye. Even across the distance, she felt the warmth of his gaze. He said something to Sarah, then lifted her down and sent her running toward the house. The little girl flew into Emma's arms, chattering about horses and riding and Papa. Cole followed at a slower pace, his gray eyes soft as they took in his wife and daughter. When he reached them, he wrapped his arms around Emma from behind, his hands settling over hers on her belly. "Happy?" he murmured in her ear. Emma leaned back against him, watching their daughter chase chickens around the yard, feeling the life growing inside her, surrounded by the vast golden land they'd built together. "So happy," she said. "So very happy." Cole kissed her temple. "Good, because you're stuck with me, Mrs. Brennan." Emma turned in his arms, rising on tiptoe to kiss him properly. "Wouldn't have it any other way, cowboy." Their daughter's laughter rang out like bells. Somewhere, a meadowlark sang. The sun warmed the earth, and the future stretched before them, bright and boundless as the western sky. Emma had been bought for $100 and freed in the rain. But what she'd truly gained was worth more than all the gold in California. A home, a family, a love that would last all her days. And it had all begun when a cowboy bought a woman covered in soot and stared in awe when rain revealed her golden hair. The winter after their daughter Sarah turned 5 brought hardships Emma hadn't anticipated. A harsh blizzard swept through Wyoming territory, lasting 3 brutal weeks. Snow piled so high against the barns that Cole and his men had to dig tunnels to reach the livestock. Emma spent those frozen days keeping fires burning, rationing food, and praying the cattle wouldn't freeze in the fields. Little Sarah pressed her face against the frosted window one morning, her breath fogging the glass. "Mama, when will Papa come home?" Emma pulled her daughter close, hiding her own worry. Cole had gone out before dawn to check the herd in the north pasture. That was 6 hours ago. "Soon, sweetheart. Papa knows these lands like the back of his hand." But even as she spoke, fear gnawed at her. Men died in blizzards like this, lost their way in the whiteout conditions, froze within yards of shelter. She'd heard the stories. Rosa crossed herself, murmuring prayers in Spanish as she stirred the stew. The old woman's hands trembled slightly. She felt it too, that cold dread that had nothing to do with the temperature. When darkness fell and Cole still hadn't returned, Emma made her decision. She pulled on her heaviest coat, wrapped a scarf around her face, and checked her pistol. "You're not going out there," Rosa said sharply. "Emma, no. Think of the baby." Emma's hand went to her belly, where their second child grew. Within minutes, Emma couldn't see more than a few feet ahead. But she knew these lands too. 5 years of riding them had written their contours into her bones. She guided Bella north, toward the pasture where Cole would have gone, calling his name into the wind. "Cole! Cole Brennan!" Nothing, just the shriek of the blizzard. Emma's fingers went numb inside her gloves. Ice formed on Bella's mane, but she pushed on, driven by a wife's intuition that refused to accept the worst. Then she heard it, a faint sound beneath the wind, a horse's whinny. "Cole!" Emma urged Bella toward the sound. She found him slumped against an outcropping of rock, his stallion standing over him protectively. Cole's face was pale, his lips blue. A jagged cut on his forehead bled sluggishly. He'd been thrown, Emma realized, probably hit his head, got disoriented in the storm. "No, no, no!" Emma slid from Bella's saddle, her legs nearly giving out in the deep snow. She grabbed Cole's face. "Cole, look at me! Cole!" His eyes fluttered open. "Emma?" His voice was a rasp. "You shouldn't. Dangerous." "Shut up," Emma said fiercely. She hauled him upright with strength born of desperation. Cole was a big man, easily 200 pounds of solid muscle, but terror made her strong. "Get on your horse. Now." Cole tried. His legs buckled. Emma caught him, braced him against the rock. "Together," she said. "We do this together. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Somehow, Emma would never quite remember how, she got Cole into his saddle. She mounted behind him, wrapping her arms around his waist to keep him upright, and grabbed both sets of reins. "Stay with me," she commanded. "You hear me, Cole Brennan? Stay with me." The ride back was a nightmare. Emma could barely see, barely breathe. Cole's weight slumped against her, and she held him with all her strength, terrified he'd slip from the saddle. The horses struggled through chest-deep snow, and Emma's tears froze on her cheeks. "Don't you dare die," she said into his ear. "Don't you dare leave me. I need you. Sarah needs you. This baby needs you." She felt Cole stir. "Baby?" he mumbled. "Yes, baby. Our baby. So you better fight, cowboy. You better stay alive." When the lights of the ranch house finally appeared through the snow, Emma wanted to weep with relief. Rosa ran out to help, and together they got Cole inside, stripped off his frozen clothes, wrapped him in blankets by the fire. Emma's hands shook so badly she could barely hold the whiskey Rosa pressed into them. "Is he okay?" "He'll live," Rosa said, examining the cut on Cole's head. "Thanks to you, mija. You saved him." Emma sank into the chair beside Cole's makeshift bed. Taking his cold hand in hers, she pressed it to her lips, her tears finally falling freely. "You scared me," she whispered. "You scared me so much." Cole's fingers tightened weakly around hers. His eyes opened, finding her face. "You came for me," he said hoarsely. "In a blizzard. Pregnant." "Emma, you could have—" "I know," Emma said. "And you would have done the same for me. That's what together means." A smile ghosted across Cole's chapped lips. "Together," he agreed. He recovered over the following days, though the scar on his forehead would remain, a reminder of how close they'd come to tragedy. Emma fussed over him relentlessly until he was strong enough to complain about being coddled. "I'm fine, woman," he grumbled one morning as Emma insisted he stay in bed. "You're fine because I'm making sure you're fine," Emma retorted. Then softer, "I can't lose you, Cole. I won't survive it." Cole's expression gentled. He pulled her down beside him, his hand settling on her belly. "You're the strongest person I know, Emma. You'd survive anything." He kissed her forehead. "But you won't have to. I'm not going anywhere." Their son was born in April during a thunderstorm that shook the rafters. Emma labored for 12 hours, with Rosa and the doctor from town attending. Cole wore a path in the porch boards, pacing like a caged wolf every time Emma cried out. When the baby's first wail pierced the air, Cole nearly broke down the bedroom door getting inside. Emma lay exhausted against the pillows, her golden hair dark with sweat, but her smile was radiant. In her arms, a red-faced infant squalled his displeasure at the world. "A boy," Rosa announced proudly. 10 fingers, 10 toes, and lungs like a bull. Cole approached slowly, as if afraid the moment might shatter. Emma held their son out to him. "Meet Thomas Cole Brennan," she said softly. "Tommy for short." Cole took the baby with surprising gentleness for such big hands. Tommy quieted, blinking up at his father with unfocused blue eyes. Cole's throat worked. "He's perfect," he managed. "Emma, you're—" "I know," Emma said, understanding what he couldn't articulate. The miracle of it, the joy, the terrifying responsibility of this tiny life depending on them. Sarah burst into the room then, Rosa unable to hold her back any longer. The 5-year-old climbed onto the bed, peering at her baby brother with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. "He's very small," she pronounced, "and loud." Emma laughed, pulling her daughter close with her free arm. "You were small and loud once too." "Was I?" Sarah seemed skeptical. "You were," Cole confirmed, sitting carefully on the edge of the bed. He shifted Tommy so Sarah could see better. "And now you're a big sister. That's an important job." Sarah's chest puffed up. "I'll protect him," she declared, "like you protect Mama." Cole's eyes met Emma's over their children's heads. The love there, fierce and unwavering, made Emma's heart ache in the best way. "Yes," Cole said, "just like that." When Tommy was 6 months old, a stranger rode up to the ranch. Emma was hanging laundry when she spotted him, a tall man in a fine suit, utterly out of place on a working cattle ranch. Her hand instinctively went to the pistol she now wore as naturally as breathing. "Can I help you?" she called out, positioning herself between the stranger and the house where Rosa watched the children. The man dismounted, holding his hands visible. "Mrs. Brennan, my name is William Hartley. I believe I'm your uncle." Emma froze. Hartley, her father's family name. But her father had been estranged from his wealthy Eastern relatives. They'd disowned him for marrying a poor farmer's daughter and moving west. "What do you want?" Her voice was cold. William, if that was truly his name, approached slowly. Up close, Emma could see the resemblance. He had her father's nose, her own green eyes. "When I heard about the fire, about your parents..." He paused. "I tried to find you. The town record said you'd been sold to pay debts, but the trail went cold. It's taken me 2 years to track you here." "Why?" Emma's hand remained on her pistol. "Because you're family," William said simply, "and because you're the sole heir to your grandfather's estate. He passed 6 months ago and left everything to your father. Since Robert is gone..." He pulled papers from his coat. "It all goes to you. The house in Philadelphia, the shipping company, the investments. You're a very wealthy woman, Mrs. Brennan." Emma stared at him. Wealthy? Her? It seemed impossible. Cole rode up then, taking in the scene with a swift glance. He dismounted and moved to Emma's side, his presence solid and reassuring. "What's going on?" His voice was carefully neutral, but Emma heard the steel beneath. "Cole, this is William Hartley. He claims to be my uncle." Emma showed him the papers. "He says I've inherited money, a lot of money." Cole studied William with the same intensity he'd use assessing a potentially dangerous animal. "That true?" "Yes, sir." William met his gaze steadily. "The estate is worth approximately $500,000. Emma's knees nearly buckled. $500,000? It was an incomprehensible sum. "We'll need to verify this," Cole said. "Through lawyers. Emma's been through enough. I won't have her scammed by some smooth-talking Easterner, family or not." William nodded. "Of course. I expected nothing less. I'm staying at the hotel in town. Take whatever time you need to investigate my claims." He handed Emma a card. "I hope you'll come to believe I'm genuine, niece. Your father was a good man. I regret that our family pushed him away." After he left, Emma sank onto the porch steps, her mind reeling. Cole sat beside her, taking her hand. $500,000, she whispered. "Cole, that's..." "A lot of money," he agreed. "What do you want to do?" Emma looked at him sharply. "What do you mean?" "If it's real, that money's yours, Emma. Not ours. Yours. Your inheritance." Cole's gray eyes were serious. "You could do anything. Go back east, live in society, buy your own ranch, whatever you want." Emma's heart clenched. "You think I'd leave you?" "I think you have choices now," Cole said carefully. "Choices you didn't have when I bought you off that auction block. You're not trapped here, Emma. You never were. But now," he gestured at the papers, "now you have the means to do anything." Emma set the papers aside and took Cole's face in her hands. "I choose you," she said fiercely. "I choose this ranch, our children, the life we've built. Money doesn't change that." Relief flashed across Cole's features. "You're sure?" "Because, Emma, I need you to be sure. I need you to stay because you want to, not because you have nowhere else to go." "I've never been more sure of anything," Emma said. She kissed him, pouring her certainty into it. "You're my home, Cole Brennan. Not a house in Philadelphia. You." Cole kissed her back, deep and thorough, when they broke apart. He rested his forehead against hers. So what do we do with $500,000? Emma laughed. First, we verify it's real. Then, she thought for a moment, then we use it to help people. People like I was, desperate, with nowhere to turn. We could build a shelter in town, or start a fund to help families in need. And maybe, she bit her lip, maybe we expand the ranch, hire more men, give jobs to people who need them. Cole smiled. That's my Emma, always thinking of others. I learned from the best, Emma said, leaning into his warmth. Over the following weeks, lawyers confirmed William's claims. The inheritance was real, and even larger than initially stated. Emma's grandfather had been a shipping magnate, and his wealth was staggering. Emma established a charitable foundation to help impoverished families, women fleeing bad situations, and orphans needing homes. She paid off debts for struggling ranchers in the county. She funded the new schoolhouse and hired a full-time teacher. The money that could have bought her a life of Eastern luxury instead transformed the lives of dozens of people in Wyoming Territory. You're a good woman, Emma Brennan, Cole said one night as they reviewed the foundation's accounts. I'm a woman who remembers standing on an auction block, Emma replied. I won't let others go through that if I can help it. Cole pulled her into his lap, nuzzling her neck. Have I mentioned lately that I love you? Not in the last hour, Emma teased. Then I'm overdue. He kissed her thoroughly. I love you, Emma, more than words can say. Show me, Emma whispered. He did. When Sarah turned 10 and Tommy was 5, a new challenge arrived at the ranch. A teenage girl named Lucy, sent by Emma's foundation. She was 15, pregnant, and running from a father who tried to sell her to a brothel. Emma took one look at the terrified girl and saw herself 6 years ago. Desperate, alone, certain the world had no place for her. You're safe here, Emma told Lucy, settling her in the guest room. No one will hurt you. You have my word. Lucy stared at her with hollow eyes. Why are you helping me? Emma smiled sadly. Because someone helped me once. And because every woman deserves a choice about her own life. Lucy stayed through her pregnancy, gradually coming back to life under Emma and Rose's care. She helped with the children, learned to cook and sew, and slowly began to smile again. When her daughter was born, a tiny, perfect girl Lucy named Hope, Emma held the baby and wept. Cole found her in the nursery, tears streaming down her face as she rocked the infant. Emma, what's wrong? Nothing's wrong, Emma said. Everything's right. This baby, Lucy, they both have a chance now, a real chance. She looked up at her husband. Because you gave me a chance 6 years ago. Cole knelt beside the rocking chair, his hand gentle on Emma's knee. Best $100 I ever spent, he said softly. Emma laughed through her tears. You're supposed to say I'm priceless. You are, Cole said seriously. Emma, you're the most precious thing in my world. But I like reminding you where we started, how far we've come. He brushed a golden strand of hair from her face. You were worth saving then. You're worth everything now. Lucy chose to stay on the ranch, working as a helper to Rosa and raising her daughter alongside Emma's children. Other women followed, widows, runaways, girls with nowhere else to turn. Emma's ranch became known as a place of refuge, where women could find safety and rebuild their lives. You're building an empire of second chances, Cole observed one evening, watching Emma coordinate housing for 3 new arrivals. I'm building a family, Emma corrected. Just a bigger one than we planned. Cole smiled, pulling her against his side. As long as I'm still your favorite. Always, Emma promised, kissing him. You'll always be my favorite." On their 10th wedding anniversary, Cole surprised Emma with a picnic by the creek, where he'd first taught her to track deer. The children were with Rosa for the afternoon, and the November sun was warm despite the season. Emma spread the blanket while Cole unpacked the basket. He'd packed all her favorites: cold chicken, fresh bread, apple pie. But when she reached for a slice of pie, Cole caught her hand. "Wait," he said. "I have something for you." He pulled a small box from his vest. Inside was a golden locket, delicately engraved with wildflowers. "Cole," Emma breathed. "It's beautiful." "Open it," he urged. Inside were 2 tiny portraits, one of Emma, one of Cole, painted with exquisite detail. Opposite them were portraits of Sarah and Tommy. "So you can carry us with you," Cole said quietly. "Always." Emma's throat tightened. She threw her arms around his neck, holding him close. "I love it. I love you." "I love you too." Cole held her tight. "Emma, these 10 years with you have been... I can't imagine my life without you. You saved me just as much as I saved you." Emma pulled back to look at him. "We saved each other," she said. "That's what makes it real." Cole kissed her, soft and sweet. Birds sang in the cottonwoods. The western sky stretched endless and blue above them. "Do you ever regret it?" Emma asked. "Taking me in? All the complications I brought? Never," Cole said fiercely. "Not once. You're the best thing that ever happened to me, Emma Brennan. You and our children and this life we've built, it's more than I ever dreamed of." "Even when I'm stubborn?" Cole grinned. "Keeps me on my toes." Emma laughed, then sobered. "Thank you," she said, "for seeing me that day, for buying my freedom, for loving me." "Thank you for letting yourself be seen," Cole replied, "for trusting me, for choosing to stay." He cupped her face, "For being brave enough to love again after everything you'd been through." They kissed as the sun began its descent, painting the sky in shades of gold and rose. 2 people who'd found each other in desperation and built something beautiful from ashes and hope. Later, as they packed up the picnic, Emma paused to look back at the ranch house in the distance. Smoke curled from the chimney. She could just make out Rosa on the porch, Sarah and Tommy playing in the yard, Lucy hanging laundry, the other women going about their work. Home, Emma thought. She'd built a home not just for herself, but for dozens of others. A place where broken things could heal, where second chances bloomed like wildflowers after rain. And it had all begun with a cowboy who'd looked past the soot and seen her worth. "Ready?" Cole asked, offering his hand. Emma took it, lacing her fingers through his. Always. They walked back together, toward the home they'd built, the family they'd created, the future stretching bright before them. The sun gilded Emma's golden hair, and Cole thought, not for the first time, that he was the luckiest man alive. Not because of her beauty, though she was beautiful. Not because of her inheritance, though it had done much good. But because of her heart, fierce and generous and brave. A heart that had survived fire and loss and found the strength to love again. "What are you thinking?" Emma asked, catching his expression. "That I'd buy you 1,000 times over?" Cole said. "And it would never be enough." Emma smiled, rising on tiptoe to kiss his cheek. "You only needed once, cowboy. Once was enough." Hand in hand, they walked home. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I'd love to know where you're enjoying this tale from. Are you listening at home? During your commute? or perhaps while working. Please subscribe to the From Wild West channel and share your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think of Emma and Cole's journey? Your feedback means the world to us.